Power is always dangerous.
Winter is coming.
I'm getting lost in the details of nothing.
Remember the first time you saw Star Wars? We were still living at your mom's house.
The Turtles find out about the Technodrome and try to find it. Splinter finds the Technodrome and ends up getting kidnapped by Shredder. When the Turtles find the Technodrome, Shredder tells the Turtles who is responsible for covering them in the ooze that mutated them. This is Season 1, Episode 2 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Enter the Shredder, and you are channel surfing with the bargain bin. Description from IMDB, we will not be holding back on spoilers. I am Sandro, and I am joined, as always, by my podcast partner in crime, Ben, and the Newfoundland Nightmare, Justin Newhook.
Yeah!
I thought that was just going to be a one-time thing.
Nope. We're doing it every episode.
So, what did we think?
Oof. For me.
Ben got super excited when he came on, so let's let him get out what he wants to.
I've realized recently that the best way to watch this show is imagine you were in the room just watching all of the shit go down. Not as a passive viewer watching a cartoon, but be like, what if you were a character and you were sitting off to the side and you watched these scenes play out? Like, this makes no sense whatsoever.
You mean like the old man underneath the bench just smiling because he doesn't know what else to do?
Oh yeah, him hiding with his dog.
Yeah.
This is, you're the long-lost fifth Ninja Turtle, Johnny.
Yeah. But even like sitting there watching the turtles wake up in the morning and their masks are hanging on the like pegs on the side of the bed, and like I really do not want to see these things without masks on.
Yeah, it's weird.
They look terrifying. It is nightmare fuel.
But it's a nice attention to detail. Like, they're not going to sleep in all of their bandanas.
So they sleep in their elbow pads and the knee pads?
Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, Justin, I'm sure you've passed out in the same gear.
Yeah, totally.
But it's like, it's once they put like the bandanas back on, I get comfortable again. I'm like, why is it so weird?
It's like the equivalent of just like managing to kick off one boot before you pass out.
Yeah, I may have been there before.
Did you guys notice that April wakes them up though?
Yeah.
This is the day after the first episode had taken place, and she's just totally at home and comfortable now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about comfortable though.
Yeah, she makes a comment where she wants to be gone. She wants to leave.
Yeah. Well, it's the talk over breakfast where they're just shaking their favorite cereal over pizza. And she's like, does anyone have real food? And Splinter's like, how about sushi? She's like, ugh.
I'll just wait till we get up top.
Like, sushi's actually good. Like,
but did it look like good sushi?
No, it did not look like good sushi.
But I didn't think that she was eager to get out of there because she was uncomfortable. I think she was just eager to get to work, right? Like, she wants this story. That's what she keeps going back to.
I guess, yeah. And
of course, she wakes up the turtles by calling out Raphael because he is the best.
Yeah.
I should point out that this is all after a title card of all things, where they have what I guess should be Leonardo because it has katanas, but it's like an orange reddish headband.
Yeah.
Who's paying attention to quality control here?
Oh, no one. It happens throughout the series. Like, if you pay attention to detail throughout the episode, the shape of their heads change.
Well, that's just because different angles, they're looking around and turning. Like, it's
yeah, okay.
You did also forget, though, before the breakfast, which I should add, I was quite disappointed that we didn't get any more information on what was on the pizzas. We just got the cereals that they were adding to the pizzas.
Good point.
Which, for the record, were cornflakes, Raisin Bran, and Choco Puffs. But I would have loved to hear what they were combining it with. This running joke that I said was for the series seemed to last one episode, and now I've lost it already.
It just looks like normal pepperoni pizzas.
That's how it should be.
Sometimes they look like normal pepperoni, and they say, pass me the jelly beans and ice cream. You don't know.
He's got you there, man.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is that, like, we are getting into the point where this is like an 80s show. So there's going to be like a attempt, at the very least, at some sort of lesson or moral type thing. And prior to breakfast, they have the entire morning training scene, which is entirely there just to set up that Mikey is impatient.
Yep.
And that'll be like his character flaw that he'll need to like learn to overcome, and the children can take as a pseudo educational moment for the episode to like, you know, take your time and not lose your cool.
The only way Mikey's going to overcome that is with a prescription.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying he's a little hyperactive.
What are you talking about?
He's enthusiastic, dude.
Is that the case?
That's the word I'm going with.
Okay.
They didn't have these terms back in the 80s.
Yeah.
They had worse terms.
Yeah. Now, conversation at work today. I said something, and a coworker's like, "You can't say that." I say whatever the fuck I want. It depends on how people interpret it.
Okay.
I realize how stupid that was to say, but this is what we're getting with this show. Like they're implying things that you can't really do in cartoons today without addressing them intentionally. This show, I'm realizing now, has, I don't even know the proper way to say it. It's freely addressing things without fear because there was a lack of judgment at the time, or a lack of knowledge, I should say, not judgment. Michelangelo's character does not exist today. He can't. People would attack Donatello for being too focused on technology and be like, well, it's Adderall. He's doing his own thing. Raphael would be a major problem in any show today. And I think the only safe turtle is Leo.
Because he's the leader.
Exactly. And he's centered and he's controlled and he is looking after his brothers.
And Ben hates him.
I hate him. I love the chaos, man.
Did you not see my promo like a month and a half ago? You can't have chaos without peace. So someone needs to keep the peace.
That's true.
It's a balance, like a yin yang, right? Like,
yes,
there is an ebb and flow to everything. Like, evil cannot exist without good.
exactly.
You guys got so nervous with what I was saying.
No?
Oh, it was just a pause. I thought Justin was super nervous, and I thought you were like, I don't know where this is going.
I'll tell you where it's going. The turtles are on a quest to find the Technodrome now.
Can we talk about the part where everybody's walking on the pipe, but Mikey is just walking underneath it for some reason?
In the sewer water? I found that very weird.
Yeah, it's like, of course he is, but like, why at the same time?
He's a free spirit that does his own thing.
Sure.
He doesn't follow the conventional rules, and this is part of like the lesson. He doesn't have to gain patience; he has to gain conformity.
There's a lot of whys in this episode.
Yeah, like what?
Like when they decide they're going to try and find the Technodrome, and they don't know where to look for it. The water is pouring from the street level. And they don't know what's going on. Like, oh, it's from the flood. But where did the Technodrome go? Where could it have gone? You're standing in a giant tunnel with like tracks in it. You're like, it's either behind you or in front of you. So pick a direction and go.
Yeah, they are so unsure where to look. It's like you have two directions to go.
Yeah.
You could theoretically split up and two turtles go one way to the other and you'll find it. But they're at a loss. They have absolutely no idea how to find this thing, which, as they point out, is like the size of a baseball diamond. Like, it's just massive. Or baseball stadium, sorry.
And also the controls for the Technodrome confuse the shit out of me because it seems to be a joystick.
Yeah.
If you look at the panel that Shredder is sitting at, it is the size of a room. Lights are flashing, buttons are everywhere. None of them really seem to do anything because he's got a little joystick. He just kind of moves.
Yeah, but that's just for the movement. Like, the doors need to be opened. I'm sure it has weaponry.
Oh, you are such a fanboy.
What?
I said, you're such a fanboy. You're so into it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't just move.
I get it.
Anyway, after that absurdity, The first episode served as an origin for the Turtles. We can't do that a second time, but we haven't established all of the characters. So this is actually our first reveal of Krang, who obviously is a predominant character in the series. And kind of the big piece of information we get from him is that he has given Shredder access to all of this technology in exchange for Shredder making him a body so that he can bring over his army from Dimension X to take over.
Yeah.
And it's not the only character we see for the first time in this episode, even though the episode is called Enter the Shredder. We've already met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird title. What do you guys think about Krang?
I forgot how awesome he talked. Like when he makes that sound, I can't make it. But when he makes the sound when he's half like, they didn't do that in the Michael Bay movie. At least they didn't make it sound like that.
I don't know if a lot of people can replicate it. It's like, it is his kind of trademark thing. And actually, there's also kind of like almost like a bit of a digesting, gurgling noise that he makes.
I get that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as for Krang, like when I was introduced to the show, which was not right away, like I probably started watching it in like season 2 or 3 and was watching the episodes in syndication. It's weird to not see him in the body because that's what in my mind's eye, I see him as when I think of the show. Yeah. So it's a little bit weird to just see him on like a little stool.
Yeah, a little tripod.
Just chilling.
I always found Krang really intimidating.
Yep.
Always. Considering he's just a giant brain.
Yeah.
You could almost say he's the brains of the operation.
Ooh.
Well, the thing is, I feel like we should be more intimidated. Yes, I get it. It's a funny joke. I feel like we should be more intimidated by Shredder, which I believe they did a really good job of in the first live action film. I don't like how we'll see him randomly through the animated series almost be more of a stooge. Yeah, Krang, I always felt should have been more of a comedic character, but he is such a manipulator. And when he does get his body, I don't know, I think he's one of my favorite 80s cartoon villain.
He's up there. I mean, I'm putting Mumra ahead of him, but
oh yeah, definitely.
I can definitely see it. I like how Shredder is so impressed by his ingenious idea to just find stronger animals to mutate to combat the mutants. It's like, why didn't I think of that? It's genius.
I love Bebop and Rocksteady.
Oh yeah.
I always have. And I don't know why. I don't know if they're even good characters. I mean, they're complete idiots, as we see in the episode.
Yeah.
But the character design is so cool. And the origin story, I think, is really good. Two of my favorites of all time, and two of my favorite action figures that I had.
Yeah, but we haven't seen them yet in their mutated glory.
I know, and we will get there. It's every time they come up, though, I'm like, why didn't we get that in TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze? Toka and Reza are great, but we needed to see those two at that time. But yes, we'll get back on track with the episode.
In order to do that, we have to see the Roadkill Rodneys burrow up to the zoo and kidnap a rhino and a warthog, setting up what we know is going to happen.
And the robots are so polite about it.
Yeah, one of the Roadkill Rodneys, which I think is another voice done by the actor who does Raphael, tells the people who were witness to it to have a nice day.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not very villainous.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, the Turtles have decided that they need Splinter's help to find the Technodrome because they can't follow a tunnel. And April is going to go to get leads at the newsroom. Which, here's the part that I also find interesting, especially thinking back to the last episode. Splinter literally asks them that, like, you saw the ninja's leader in the compound last night? And they say, yes. Did they?
I don't remember that.
I remember them hearing his voice telling them that they get back to the Technodrome. I don't remember them seeing him.
No.
Maybe they did.
I don't recall, honestly.
Love that we're calling up flaws. And when did this start? 87?
Yeah.
Yeah. For 87, this is a great cartoon. I think we can let shit like that slide.
We're going to have to let a lot of stuff slide.
As I nitpick everything.
We can let that slide, but we can't let the fact that there's a joystick that controls a Technodrome.
You shut up.
It's just for the directional controls. They have to control other things. You guys never use a video game controller? Like, come on.
I will accept defeat on this argument.
Good.
So anyway, they follow the tunnel and they hit like a collapse, I guess. I guess some of the tunnel was falling behind the Technodrome. And this is where they have to separate from Splinter because, I mean, April got kidnapped in the first episode. You can't do that again in the second one. So now we're going to have Splinter get kidnapped. But like, why did they then just decide to abandon him and say, let's go talk to April for more information?
I don't know. Them going topside was really strange. I don't know if it was padding or not, but like them seeing the jumbo pizza billboard and Mikey losing his shit and being like, oh, it's right next to Channel 6. We're like, well, that's convenient.
Yeah. When they run into the alley and like the two turtles on the left, I can't remember who it is, but they're out of breath. But the way they're like selling it is so awkward looking. And then they shift back into like normal stance.
Yeah.
I was like, who decided to make that be like the out of breath like dance or whatever? It's just very weird.
The animation in this episode in particular is so janky at times. Like when April goes outside of the station and sees the turtles in costume like dancing, and all of a sudden they look like they're like 2 feet tall.
What were these costumes? Like, seriously, in the last episode, I criticized their costume of raincoats and hats, but it feels like this is even less coverage.
Oh, 100% is. And it, like the why leather jacket?
And sunglasses.
I don't know if you noticed when they come up dancing, they have Leo behind Raph, I think it is, and you can't see his face. You can just see like a leg coming out that shows that there's blue, like a blue knee pad. And then when it cuts back to them after she says, you know, there's a rhino and a warthog stolen, they cut back to the turtles and they're just showing those 3 turtles. They're not showing Leo whatsoever.
Yeah.
And even when they like skadoopadoop back out when he whatever Mikey says, whatever Mikey says, he like they don't even show Leo, and it's like he's there.
Well, it seems like the whole point of them going top level is to like when they're up there, they try and blend in. And like I get it with Mikey is wearing like orange sunglasses because they all have to wear sunglasses with the colors that correspond with their bandanas. But he's wearing like a black leather jacket. Raph is wearing red sunglasses and a white leather jacket with rhinestones. And like you're not blending in.
No.
You've got a giant green head. And there is nothing about you that looks normal.
It's the 80s, man.
Exactly. I think about it. I'm like, April's wearing a giant yellow jumpsuit with a white belt. That is not what a reporter wears.
Can we go back to the whole reporter thing? And by that, I mean into the Channel 6 newsroom. She's talking to her boss. You guys remember what her boss says?
I don't.
Not particularly.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the day after the building collapse.
Yeah.
The boss says, you've been missing for 3 days?
Oh, yes.
And you come in here asking for whatever, and it's like, has it been 3 days?
No.
Because it feels like it was 1, as that's when she ran away from the thugs.
I feel like they reused that line in the movie. Do you remember that when she goes back to talk to her boss?
Yeah.
It's like 3 days, April.
Yeah.
I don't.
It doesn't make sense in the show, for sure, but
It would be a cool little Easter egg if that is the case.
yeah.
I don't remember that specific line from the movie, but I know we covered the movie.
Yeah. It's... I love the show. I do love the show. It's...
Is it, or is it a product of its time?
No, okay. Remember what I said about approaching the show from being like a person in the scene watching what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I was standing outside Channel 6 and April comes out, I'm like, oh, it's the lady from TV. And then 3 turtles and 1 hidden turtle show up in leather jackets and sunglasses dancing around and be like, what is going on here? These aren't humans. And they have their conversation.
You're also in the same town where old lady's pushing a cart and she's just got an AK-47 out of
It's
nowhere.
true.
No one really shot shit there. Like,
But it's the next scene that really gets me. Because again, if you're just standing in each scene being like, I'm here, what's going on? We're back underground. And Splinter just bursts through a rock wall. If I'm one guy standing there and this giant rat in a kimono and a walking stick bursts through a rock wall and he looks like he's going to murder anything he sees, I am stomping the shit out of that. He is so intimidating. It's terrifying.
After what you just described, I don't think you're going to successfully stomp anything. He's going to stomp you.
It's a fight or flight moment. I'm fighting. The look on his face, he looks like the villain of the episode.
He's a giant rat.
yeah, is it when he breaks through and he finds the Technodrome?
Yeah. And then he like scuttles his way over.
Yeah. Is there anybody outside in that moment? I can't remember if he.
No, he's in a cavern with just the Technodrome.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the robots like steals his walking stick.
Right.
No, the walking stick gets dropped when the robot steals Splinter.
No, he grabs the stick away from him and throws it away and then grabs Splinter.
Okay, so like he disarms him. I think you're getting lost in the semantics here.
That's fine. I'm also watching it as we're talking. So also the turtles going down into the tunnel where the Technodrome is, they just go through a manhole and fall about 80 feet.
I don't think it's a manhole. I think it's the hole that the roadkill Rodneys burst through when they kidnapped the animals, because they went to the zoo to investigate, and they probably saw a giant gaping hole and decided that that's probably a lead for us.
It's a massive drop, though.
Yeah, it's still a huge drop.
Well, yeah, because they cut back to the Technodrome, and it's like, obviously, like it's a little bit more of a zoomed out view because you can see the entirety of the Technodrome. And you just see these tiny figures of the turtles falling the entire length of the screen.
It's insane. And they get inside so easily.
Well, yeah, because they're invited.
Yeah,
they're invited.
They're let inside.
Yeah.
And this is the second episode in a row where it's just like, this is a trap, right? Like April's purse. And now a door opens and Shredder's like, come in if you want to save him. And Leonardo even states that, like, this has got to be a trap. Yup.
And we get that, like, the closing wall Star Wars trash compactor scene. Which is fine. You know what? It works really well for this cartoon. But the way they get out of it is Leo cuts off the control panel and they just patch wires together?
Well, it's Don. You love Don. He's the smart one. He hot-wired the panel and opened the door. And these are the types of things that those extra buttons at the control are going to be manually, like, controlling.
Yeah. I accept the fact now that at our age, we can't judge the logic of a 1987 cartoon. Or
you keep trying to.
I know. But it's hard not to, because when they go into that one room of the Technodrome and they're like, it looks like a manufacturing plant. You're like, there is no machinery here to assemble anything. You are not manufacturing anything. They're just storing killer robots.
Yeah.
And I have to talk about these robots.
I like how you just skimmed over Raphael dispatching 2 roadkill Rodneys like they're nothing. And these things have so far been very powerful, kidnapping animals, capturing Splinter without any resistance, and Raph just takes 2 of them out.
I know, but I feel like...
You don't want to acknowledge his awesomeness.
Well, he's not awesome, because once the turtles go up against them, it's just like they're mousers. They aren't really a threat to turtles. I feel like I made two enemies here with my rap comments.
No, I didn't say anything. I think that, the turtles are a different threat for the roadkill Rodneys, because like they got to go up against animals, but they're dumb, and not that Splinter is weak or anything like that. But if a robot disarms him and he just grabs him, what's he going to do?
I can't argue any of that.
Well, anyway, not happy with the turn of events here, but the robots attack, which I always found it kind of lazy to just have random robots as enemies.
Yeah, I agree.
You could so clearly have foot soldiers, but like, if these cartoons were made to push toys back in the day, you're not going to have toy of random like smashing machine, right? But it does kick in the fight music, and I'd be lying if I said it doesn't get me pumped every time.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as it kicks in, you're like, oh, it's going down now. Because it's going to be like it's like a long fight sequence.
It is a pretty long fight sequence, but I have one question that I need somebody to answer. What are Michelangelo's nunchucks made out of? He swings them through giant metal arms. There's like a spider-like robot that he breaks every one of the legs with one swing of his wooden nunchucks, which I have to imagine are not wooden at this point.
I don't know, man.
Just a really strong oak.
I'll give this another thing that you'll probably just completely refuse, but Raph has the best kill where he jumps at the flying robot and just slashes.
Takes the wings off.
Yeah, it is really good. I like when Don attacks the one robot and drives his bow through its camera lens eye.
Yeah.
For some reason, that kills it. I don't know why, but
that's also ingenious, right? I can't understand Michelangelo breaking through this, but Donatello is hitting like the weak part of the robot. It's like a glass lens instead of the metal body. Although now that I say metal body, there's a cut where it goes to Michelangelo and he's just hitting one of the robots that's already down on the ground.
Yeah.
For no reason at all. It's like he's already done.
Just smashing it in.
Just beating up a foot of it or something.
I don't know how I feel about the robot with the giant, like, pulverizing dick. Because it just walks over things, and then this pile driving mechanism just crushes whatever is under it. It looks really uncomfortable. And yeah, it ends up crushing the, not just the robot that Mikey was beating the shit out of with his chain sticks, with his nunchucks, but it crushes multiple robots, and it's a horrible design.
It's obviously a horrible design because it gets defeated by them luring another robot under it, and the explosion of the one takes it out.
Yep.
So it's like you made a crushing robot that can't crush things without destroying itself? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And also, I think the biggest threat to the turtles in this episode is that rolling spiked tube, like a log, that just rolls after them. Like, it's not sentient, it's not computer controlled, it's just a decent trap. So if something so simple could almost take them out, the robots are pointless.
I knew you would mention that scene, and I have to imagine it's your favorite one.
Oh no.
Because your favorite turtle, Donatello, after the fight with the robots, just grabs some random part. Mm-hmm. And they're stuck in the room with this giant ball. So he tapes it to the wall, and Leonardo hits it with a shuriken, which causes a hole to be blown straight through the wall.
Yeah.
And I know how much you love things that just explode.
Yeah, for no reason. Honestly, my main concern is, like, where did he get the tape?
He probably just carries it around in his utility belt.
Oh, his utility belt. Yeah. I don't know about this cartoon anymore, guys. I used to love this shit, and now it's hard to watch. I mean, it's entertaining, but you can't explain most of what happens in these episodes.
No, because it's a cartoon.
I guess, yeah.
You can use a rope to cross a gap.
What?
Ben heard me.
I totally heard.
She was wearing gloves. We get to like the penultimate part of the episode where they find Splinter, just hung up in the room. And Shredder makes his first appearance, which I guess is part of the enter the Shredder part. And I say first, air quotes. But what he says after that is just hilarious to me because it's almost like he's giving us some big twist where he does say, "That's right, I am Oroko Saki." And it's like, yeah, we know. Splinter said it like 10 times. It does lead to cueing the first appearance of mutant versions of Rocksteady and Bebop. And Justin, how effective are these guys?
Oh, it's extremely effective. Oh my god, the fact that yes, they make them dumb, but they get lost. They get at the end of everything. They chase them, but they just get trapped back in the cage.
But at this point, they literally come into the room with foot soldiers.
Yeah.
Charge at one another. The turtles jump out of the way and they knock each other out, like almost double clothesline style. They're out for the count.
Double down. They hit the double down, and Shredder was the ref and had to come check on them.
So with them knocking themselves out, the turtles have 4 foot soldiers left as their opposition?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's nothing.
And they cut down Splinter, and then they just leave. Like the next scene, they're coming out of the tunnel in the zoo. Mm-hmm. Did they not meet any did Shredder just kind of step to the side and be like, "Well, you guys got me beat here. Go ahead."
Bye.
He's a bad villain. He's actually a really bad villain in this show.
They don't make him look too strong at times, like you said, especially at the beginning of the episode when Krang was just being a jerk to him and belittling him, basically.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, outside of making Rocksteady and Bebop in this episode, which taking 2 intelligent animals and mixing them with a warthog and a rhino, I don't know how he expected a high IQ return. He gets belittled by Krang, stands there as foot soldiers and Rocksteady and Bebop do nothing, and then just lets them leave, I guess. This is the enter the Shredder.
Okay, guys, we were talking about quality control earlier. Did anybody notice the first attack on Bebop by the turtles when he's shooting at them?
Well, we haven't even gotten to that part yet, but...
Okay. All right, well, I will bite my tongue until we get there. It is pure insanity.
We are kind of there. It's just we need to set the scene for it.
Okay.
The turtles have now escaped. They're at the zoo. They didn't meet any resistance, right? We know there's a giant hole at the zoo because it was used twice. But instead, Rocksteady and Bebop blast another hole into the ground and just jump out of it for their first actual showdown that's not them being complete morons and running into each other.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this attack?
Leo jumps, katanas out.
Yep.
To slice the barrel of Bebop's gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
When we see him do that, it's Raph with the katanas. He slices the gun barrel, rolls out of the way. Then Raph jumps into scene from the other side and kicks him just as we cut to
Raph rolling in slowly and shoving a sigh in Rocksteady's gun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is the worst attention to detail I think we've encountered in the show so far.
I actually paused it during the drop kick just to double check, and it does have the R on the belt. So it's not like they were intending it to be a different turtle and colored it wrong, which must be what happened with the Leonardo jump.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's definitely Raphael with Rocksteady. And Raph kicks Bebop, and as he's falling, it cuts to the scene, and you can still see Bebop falling behind Rocksteady. Raphael is rolling from the same direction that the first one just came from.
Yeah.
And then when they kind of pan out, so to speak, to show Rocksteady's gun explode, Raph is standing in the group with the other turtles again.
Yeah. It is horrible.
Everything about it is just laziness.
It's fun. It honestly, it does kind of make me enjoy the show more. When you see mistakes like that, you know it was rushed. You know it was cheap, but it's still fun. Like, there is nothing about this episode that isn't entertaining.
I'll be honest, it kind of adds a little something to be like on the hunt for these errors.
Yeah. Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
A question for you, Sandra. You might know this. Justin, I don't know. I don't know how big of a fan you are. On Rocksteady's hip, like his ammo belt, he seems to wear like a turtle shell or something that looks like a turtle shell. What is up with that? Because I never understood that. Do they explain it?
I think it's just decorative.
Okay. It's dark.
It is. It almost feels like they're trophies.
Yeah. Agreed.
Justin.
Yes.
Now that they've disarmed Rocksteady and Bebop, how did they finish them off?
This is where they get chased into a cage. They run in through the cage, and then they hit a button that raises bars. Because these were the same cages that they got taken out of, so it's kind of like full circle.
I guess the bars were repaired too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the bars were just all of them, or just magically replaced. Not even just like, just.
They do not try to cover up how stupid these two characters are.
No.
We've seen them twice. The first time they knock each other out, and the second time they get trapped by running into a cage.
And they didn't seem that dumb when they were humans, but I also think that, I'm sure in the fight when they revealed the turtles, they didn't fight that well either.
And that's kind of the end of the episode. Like, April shows up, they drive away in the news van, and then...
Yeah, and it just cuts away. Like, when it cuts away, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to be back in the lair, just kicking it, or...
Yeah. The final shot we get is of a roadkill Rodney just kind of freeing Rocksteady and Bebop from the bars again and taking them back underground.
Yeah.
But you kind of expect, like, old cartoons, G.I. Joe, Transformers, they'd always have like a moral at the end of the story where you think that, it's going to cut to the lair and give you some sort of closure or lesson or something. But no, just credits.
Yeah.
The ending seemed pretty lazy.
Well, it feels incomplete rather than lazy.
Yeah, and there was no to be continued, so you can't be like, well...
Again, I have to say, if you put yourself in the scenario, like a human in the scenario, and like for me, Splinter just destroyed my mind. April's filming Bebop and Rocksteady in the cage. If that makes it to television, I'm sitting at home and be like, what the what is this? It's a humanoid warthog and rhino wearing clothes, screaming and swearing, and what is happening?
I'm grabbing my family. Like, we're moving.
Yeah, we're getting out of New York.
Yeah.
Shit here is crazy.
Going to Chicago.
So now that the episode is over, seems as good as any time to ask you guys for a individual highlight.
There's 3.
Oh. All right.
And there's nothing like, it's not like the first episode where it was like, oh, this made me feel like it was the opening of the first movie and it just brought me back nostalgic and shit like that. There's just 3 things that happened that just really, I literally went back and rewound it a couple seconds just to make sure it was what I thought. The one was when Mikey was swinging on the ropes when they were going through the sewer, and he just like makes this old man sound, and then when he lands, it sounds like he just dropped. He made less of an impact sound when he dropped 80 feet, the whole length of the like Technodrome. Then he just swung on this rope, and he just lands, and it's like, who chose that for the sound bite? At the end of the walls going in or squeezing in, it just cuts to all 4 of them, like wide shot, and probably Raph, but he just goes, "Take your time, why don't you?" And it's just like in this tone, and it's like, you guys are almost dead, and now it's just like, okay, cool. And then just right after that, there was Mikey's laugh when they throw the roadkill Rodneys down the hole, and just his laugh is. Once again, okay, complete different voice thing, but all right, we'll go with that. Sorry, those are 3 things. Those are 3 things that stood out, not in a really good way, but just They just really.
Very audio driven for you.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Ben, why is your favorite scene the exploding robot part?
It is not. There is one scene that made me laugh, and that is at the end when Bebop and Rocksteady are locked in, and like the Turtles and April are kind of laughing because you see Raph and like with their belts, they have the letters on their weird ninja belt buckles that don't exist in real life. But like you see the R on Raph, and Michelangelo's is just great because the animator's like, I don't know who this is. I think that's really funny. But for me, the highlight of the episode would have to be Splinter bursting through that wall. Because that I would do my best to murder that rat if I was there. That'd be absolutely terrifying. He comes through with murder eyes like Charles Bronson in Death Wish 3.
I feel like if you were in New York, you'd probably have a handgun, so you probably just would have whipped it. Just double taps. gun back in the holster and just walk away and be like, nope, not today, not dealing with this shit.
Sandro, standout moment for you.
Mine's actually in a similar vein, but it's actually when Rocksteady and Bebop burst through the ground. It's not because it's funny, but that's just like one of the images that I remember from this show from when I was younger, and just how cool they looked. Because the first time we see them, they're pretty stupid and they run into each other. But like this feels like just a much more like this should be the first time we see them.
I get that.
Yeah,
I do.
All right, so with highlights out of the way, we need to rank the episodes. And so it's a very simple question here. Was episode 2 better or worse than episode 1?
No, I wouldn't say worse, but episode 1's better.
I like this one more. It would go episode 2 and then 1 for me.
I think I'm going to have to actually take Ben's side on this one. Just because this one had, not that they're entirely long episodes, but had a little bit more meat on the bone. We didn't have to do the whole introduction to the Turtles. So while this one is a little bit flat in the story, find Technodrome, get kidnapped, get out of Technodrome, it at least just gets right into everything. And we see a variety of things, from the Turtles exploring to the animals being kidnapped to a fight scene and then the zoo. It's just, it feels like it's a little bit more action-packed.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
So that's it for this one. I guess we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
All the best.
Bye.